This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work, responding to another Ask Prof. Wolff question from our Patreon community. This one comes from self-identified Metal King 1417. Metal King asks, what happens? How do we work out the following difference of opinion? Imagine an economy based on worker co-ops. The workers in a particular co-op feel that the best decision they can make, say about some new technology, say about expanding or not the business, and so on, clashes with the community in which this decision is going to be made, the surrounding homes, the village, the town, the region. What happens with such a disagreement? Okay. It seems to me that if you believe in democracy, you really don't have much choice about the answer you give to this good question. Democracy, at least for me, means if you're affected by a decision, you have the right to participate equally with all others that are affected in making that decision. That's why I believe in worker co-ops. What is done in the enterprise, what you produce, how you produce, where you produce, what you do with the fruits of all your labors, those things have to be decided collectively, democratically, one person, one vote, because that's what democracy means. And since I want enterprises to work for the people, well, then the people have to be in charge, not some tiny minority of owners or shareholders or banks. No. That's not democratic because it gives them the power and deprives all the employees of power, and that's not consistent with democracy. But now we hit this new question. What about the people affected in the surrounding community? And they will be affected by many of the decisions made in an enterprise. About the traffic coming to an end and away from the enterprise, about the noise the enterprise may make, about the danger to residents from what's carried in trucks in and out of an enterprise, from the income that's generated, the investments that are made. In other words, the surrounding community also is affected by what the enterprise does and therefore has the right to participate. So how do we operationalize this? The answer is we really have two interacting democratic cooperatives to deal with here. One is the cooperative in and of the workplace, and the other one is the cooperative in and of the residential community, the shops and stores, and everything else that makes up a residential community that is around in the area of, within the impact area of an enterprise. And these two democratically organized co-ops, you might call one economic, about the workplace, and the other one political, about the residential community, they have to have, yes, veto power. They have to be able to work out a system of agreeing, and in the event they cannot agree, some method of arbitration. Perhaps a special council elected in some way by both of these communities, comprising 5 or 6 individuals who have a special function to adjudicate, to be like judges in a trial. If there's a dispute that can't be resolved between the two co-ops, they will make a decision with an appeal process and all the rest. That's a way to do this. That's a way it ought to have always been done. Here in American capitalism, we have nothing remotely like that. We may, if we're lucky, have a democratic community politically, but it deals with companies and corporations, factories, stores, and offices that all have a tiny group of people at the top making decisions. Those people are making decisions to run those enterprises for themselves. You know who's excluded in whatever disputes happen between the mayor of the town and the big company boss? They don't involve the employees. They are excluded from whatever gets worked out, and we all know what that means, because if we live in the United States, that's what we live in. So yeah, there would have to be a system worked out, but it would have the advantage of being genuinely democratic, which the arrangements we live in here in the United States now are light years from. This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work, asking you to partner with us in making videos like this available to people interested in a change in our economic system. We can do better than capitalism, and a worker co-op is the way to go. And when worker co-ops replace the hierarchical, undemocratic way we organize most factories, offices, and stores in the United States, those co-ops will have their problems to solve, both internally and, as I've just explained, with their surrounding communities. But that can be done in a democratic way, and it would make it much more likely that the decisions shaping our communities and our workplaces would reflect what people need and want, rather than being distorted by the reality of a tiny group dominating workplaces, which is the capitalist normality. Share these videos with others, partner with us, and of course, if you can help us financially, that's another resource we use to extend the reach and hopefully the social impact of all that we do. Thank you.